My name is Nancy Bokma. On July 1st, 2016, I lost my son, Justin Bokma. He was shot and killed in an after-hours club in Kensington Market. Um, Justin and I were extremely close. He was my best friend, my rock, my Toronto. He lived with me and had just recently moved out, or was moving out to Scarborough. And he showed me the city. He showed me all places that I probably never would have been able to go to, or chose to go to. And he was there for me. I was there for him. Um, and he was just, like I said, my rock. He was, every day we saw each other or we talked on the phone, and it's hard that he's not here to do that still. But yeah, he was a skateboarder. He apparently was a legend, and I used to go watch him skate. I used to take groups of guys to the cow ramp, so I could share what he was doing, him and my other sons too. And it was great just to be able to go and be there, see what they were doing, and and then, like I said, just talking to other people, he was really, I'm amazed that he was there for so many other people too, because I thought he spent a lot of time with me, so I don't know how he got to be with, help to take care of a lot of other people too. I was up at my son's visiting up north, and I had a dream that Justin was telling me he couldn't find me. And my son came in and said, "Mom, you got to get up. We got to go to Toronto. Justin's been shot." And I thought my other son was part of the dream, but then I realized he was there and he was telling me this. And as soon as I heard that, I knew that he was dead. So we drove into Toronto, and my son wanted to go to the club in Kensington Market, and I said no, because we were listening to the news, and I kept hearing that there was a person that was in the club that was dead, and I knew it was Justin. And we went to the hospital, and we went to the emergency ward, and I asked a nurse, told her who I was, and she said, "Hang on a minute." She got a doctor. The doctor came out and gave me a card to call the police. So I called the police, and they were told me, like, that there had been a shooting, that they couldn't identify Justin yet, that he was a person that was dead because, for whatever reason, I don't know. My older son, me and my son came here, and then my older son came in and was waiting with us, and I think it was like 10 hours that we had to wait. In the interim, people that were at the club, they knew that Justin was dead, so it was all over Facebook that he had died. And then finally they came and they confirmed that he had died, that it was him that was shot. And the owner was shot too, but he was taken to the hospital and died at the hospital. And then later that night I watched on TV, and it was Justin's body that they brought out, so that was really hard to see, but I knew right away when they said that, and I just kind of kept saying to my sons, maybe he's been arrested, maybe, just trying to prolong it and make it not a reality. The hardest thing is that he's not here. I mean, the funeral was a blur. The first year you're in shock, so you just go through life like in a daze. the second year I started thinking about it or trying to get grips with it, but I found that it was too painful. I had to go back into the shock mode because I couldn't handle it anymore. The funeral was incredible because there were so many people there, and again, hearing all the stories, getting all the hugs, just knowing the support that we had from family and friends, it was unbelievable. But it was so hard to say goodbye. That was the hardest part. And even to this day, I don't think I've ever, in my head I have, but in my heart I haven't accepted as a reality, because then it'll be like kind of final that it is true and he is gone, where I rationally know that he is. But every day you struggle. You want that person back, and he's not going to come back. So it's a constant, it's like living in a prison, and you have to go out into the world and put on this happy face, and people are always saying, oh, you are doing so good, and then I'll say, or they'll ask me, how are you? And I'll say, do you really want to know? And you can see that they're like panic stricken, because they're afraid, like, oh, she's going to go crazy, or she's going to break down, or whatever. But it's hard to just continue to find that new, as people say, a new normal. I don't let it affect me in the way that because people, when I did a rally at Dundas Square, people were telling me not to do it because they said that, they're going to come after you and stuff. But I don't let it affect me in that way. I don't want to be a victim, because then they win. But with the post-traumatic stress disorder, I find that initially, every time I saw a police car, I would panic. I never had anxiety before, but I would have panic attacks. I've had about 3, and I hated it, and it was so scary. And anytime there's a shooting, loud noises, different things, there's triggers, things that will trigger you. And with all the shootings that have been happening, it's terrible. Like, it just sets me off. I kind of become almost like a hermit, where I don't want to go out, only because it's having to deal with what I'm trying to process, and it's so hard because it's all so different. It's a new normal for me. It's all these new things, like panic attacks, triggers, all these different things. In the beginning, you go into like shock. It was a total shock because it was unexpected and it was violent. I went to groups and talked with other parents, and that kind of helped. But it's still, you hate being part of that group because of the reason why. But then now it's different, but it's still hard because, like I said, I haven't fully accepted it. I have, like I said, things will trigger scared feelings, panics, different things.
Has there been any moments recently where you truly felt Justin's presence with you?
I have, yeah. There's been many times, and he leaves me dimes in different places, very unusual places. And the day that I was going to, for the reward, I had cleaned out my purse the night before, and I went into my purse, and in the bottom there was 19 dimes. So I don't know. For me, it's a comfort, and I've heard from other people that there are different signs. I do feel him. I think because, I think that's one of the reasons why I have the complicated grief, because we were so close. That with the complicated grief, you kind of become stagnant in the grief, and you also collect things. I have Justin's elephant collection, and then people have been adding to it, so I just have a million elephants everywhere, but I love it. I think it's just the fact, it's a reality, but it's not. It's very hard to describe because it's a feeling. I gave birth to him, we had a future, there's a lot of memories I have and pictures and things, but it's not the same. How could it be the same? No, I don't think, and that's the sad part because there's so many of us, and the group keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I don't think the politicians are taking it seriously. I don't think they're doing what they need to do. I just heard in one place that they're going to put lighting and cameras. These are all Band-Aid solutions. They have to get to the bottom, the root of what is causing this. In my particular circumstance, it was illegal guns and it was gangs. So we keep trying to, as loudly as we can and in a unified voice, say, like, you got to do something. You've got to do something, and then they can't be doing anything because just last weekend there was 14 shootings. So, they're still not doing what they need to do, and I don't know what it's going to take, but I think we keep trying. It's not that we're ever going to stop, but like something has to be done because this cannot go on. It traumatizes too many people, not only myself, but a lot of my son's friends, my granddaughter. I have a grandson, and they're affected by it. Everybody's affected by it. It affects people, all around. And I worry about her as she's getting older, that she's going to start going to places, and are we going to have to worry about, is she going to get shot? Because it's happening in so many different places. Well, when I see it on the news, again, it's a trigger, and you're traumatized all over again. You're affected by it because you see these parents. 2 weeks before Justin was shot, there was a shooting down in the States, and I sat with Justin and I said, I don't know how those parents must feel. And 2 weeks later, I was one of them. So I think the whole thing is that, like with all this shooting, like I'm affected by it, and I know other mothers are affected by it because are still in contact with a whole group of mothers. I know other people because of what they've experienced, and like I said, my granddaughter said, I'm not going to be able to play with Justin anymore. I said, no, so it's taken so much away from us and taken so much away from all these people whose children have been shot, the people that are targeted, but a lot of innocent bystanders. That's the hard part, because Justin was shot because he tried to save somebody. He went after these guys because they were going to hurt somebody. And even at the funeral, a man came up to me and he hugged me and he said, I was at the club and your son saved my life, and he was crying, and I thought, that was Justin. Justin would do that. But I thought he should never have been in that position, that he had to do that. Well, the anti-gun, we've done a lot of rallies. There's the women that were in my group that have really pushed hard. I wasn't part of it, but for the Bill 51. And Build for Bokma is a foundation that Wes Lotes Justin was a mentor to this guy. He was a little kid when he was hanging around at my house with Justin and skateboarding and things. So he decided that what he wanted to do is to do this fundraiser for Justin. And what they do is they go to different places in the city and they develop skate parks. And places that are like out of the way. They had, last year they had at the Bentway, it was his memorial, so they had the memorial there. And they had skateboarding and just all different things. And it's to help the youth, young people, to develop skills, to have self-confidence, just to help promote them, and communities. So working with all the communities and things. And right now they're in the process of trying to get a memorial park for Justin. So they're working with the city, which is really excellent. And I try to be part of it in little ways by just helping. I'm going to do a fundraiser for them. But I think this is a big part of it too, is that there has to be programs to help children, youth, that come from low-income families. I worked in Regent Park, and so I saw how valuable it was when the police worked with the youth there. And this is one of the things that Bill for Bokma is doing, and I know other organizations are doing. I think there has to be more of this, but it's hard when they're cutting funding for some of the programs, so that they're not going to be able to have these new up-and-coming programs. Before Justin died, we were talking about what we wanted to do if we were killed. I said I wanted to be cremated and spread everywhere, and Justin said the same thing. He says, I want to be cremated and spread everywhere. So we had him cremated, and I have a little locket with his ashes in that I can't wear all the time. And I decided that there was a bench at Trinity Bellwood that Justin and I used to sit on. We would have lunch, we would talk about life, we would cry, we would laugh, it was just our bench. So I contacted the city, and they were so gracious, and they said, yes, you can have the bench. I wanted a plaque put on it, but it was too expensive. So a skate park down in Florida, Kyle Randall is a person. He had an art show and raised the money for the bench, to put the plaque on the bench. So it's central for everybody. People go there and hang out, and we had the last memorial there. They did skate ramps in the hockey rink, and I think it's like I said, it's a place where what he wanted. And also too, I sent his ashes to California. They had a memorial. To Florida, they had a memorial. He's everywhere in Toronto, at the bench and everywhere. And I think it's a healing. For me, it's a sanctuary, because I knew he wouldn't want like a grave site. That wasn't him. He wanted to be everywhere, and he is. And I've sent him to different places, like to Amsterdam, to different places, to Belgium. When people are going places, I'll send him. My son went on his vacation to the Dominican Republic, and he took Justin's ashes. So he really got his wish, what he wanted. And the bench is a memorial to him, but it's also to a gathering place where people can come. I go there and I meet so many people, and we started doing like guerrilla gardening there, and just it's just for me, I find it very soothing and comforting, and I feel him there. That whole area was his area, and his pictures everywhere over there too, in Dufferin Grove Park, and so it's his area, and I just thought it was right to have it there. And like I said, it's central, so anybody can visit, and I just ask people to send me pictures if they sit on the bench, and they do, because I have a scrapbook that I've kept. It's hard, because the thing is, you don't grieve together. Like, my sons grieve by themselves, and I grieve. I mean, they're supportive of me, but yet we don't grieve together, and it's hard to, like, I that was one of the things that almost crushed me when I found that out, because I thought, this is when I really need to have them, because I think part of it is you lose your identity. So I started thinking, like, am I still a mother, you know, and all these things. Um, his my ex-husband, again, we don't grieve together, so it's pretty alone a time. And but I have like the skateboard community and friends, you know, and neighbors. My neighbors have been so spectacular. Everybody has been, you know, so I grieve with them. And the hardest part is when you have to grieve alone. It's the biggest part, and it's hard because you're dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of self-doubts, a lot of so much that you're dealing with, and you do it on your own, you know. I mean, I've gone for therapy, and that's helped, and I think I have a lot of supports, and I think that's the one thing I would say is to take any support that comes your way, that you can, because you need to have supports, and I do, you know, have a lot. Just the fact that I think this is great that you're doing this. I think we have to keep the focus on gun violence because it has to stop. And it's not a safe city, and something has to be done.